And I'm really, really happy to welcome Edward Asano from GradWise and Rebecca Riley from Swinburne University to start our breakout sessions today and providing an insight into an exploration of success. So Edward and Rebecca have worked collaboratively to implement GradWise to Swinburne. Are you okay, Susan? Can you hear us? Yep.
Sorry, I just have to send the link to the other interpreter. Is there somebody there that can do that just quickly?
Mel, are we able to do that, Mel?
Yeah, sure. I can sort that out.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks for letting us know, Susan. Appreciate it. So Edward and Rebecca, we've had a nice little informal chat with them before we started today, which is great. Thank you. But they've been working collaboratively this year, and I'm pretty sure it started way before this year, to implement GradWise to Swinburne students. And this is looking at assisting graduates into meaningful employment, and they have been very successful. So congratulations to you both. And I'm really excited now to hand over to you so we can all learn a little bit more.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Debbie. We're very excited about this opportunity, and we look forward to sharing some insights with you. I'll just try and share my screen. Just bear with me for 1 second. Excellent. All right. So before I start, probably I want to acknowledge country. We acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who are the traditional owners of the land we live and work on. We pay our respects to the elders present, past and present, and emerging, as well as elders from other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders communities who are present here today. We also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all live today, and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people participating in this meeting. My name is Edward Asano. As Debbie had mentioned, I head the GradWise program. I've been involved with the program since inception, and I truly believe that we are all powered differently. Today is 2 years since our first presentation at the last attend. And like I'd say that I look forward to sharing with you the GradWise story, learnings along the way, some insights, and some successes that we've had along the way as well. So in 2017, I think is when we started thinking of the GradWise program. And the challenge we were faced with was how can we increase the graduate outcome rates for students who are living and managing a disability. The genesis of the GradWise is a collaboration between Wise Employment and Swinburne University, a vision between our CEO, Matt Lambell, the Swinburne Vice Chancellor at the time, Professor Linda Chris Johnson, and the then Swinburne Manager of Accessibility Services. He's now the current Manager of Equity and Diversity at La Trobe University, and the President of Attend, Anthony Gartner. The goal, as I'd mentioned, is to increase the graduate outcome rates for students who are living with a disability by ensuring that they're competitive for the graduate and entry-level positions. We are not trying to circumvent the application process because we believe that would be setting low expectations for our students. We try to achieve these goals through coaching, advocacy, and unlocking high performance by building on our students' self-leadership, innovation capacity, learning capacity, and resilience. The challenge that we faced as GradWise, and I'm pretty sure as all practitioners working in this space, is buying from the students. And this is completely understandable due to the negative experiences they would have faced while competing for the employment opportunities. Over the last 2.5 years, it became clear that in order for the students to buy in and to unlock a high performance, whilst they're with the GradWise program or in the world of work, the student had to go through 3 phases. And the phases are connect, transform, and act. And before I delve into these 3 phases, I want to welcome Rebecca Riley, the Accessibility Career Hub Coordinator from Swinburne University, who's going to share with us some results that we achieved today.
Sure. Thanks, Ed. So yes, my name's Rebecca. I'm the Accessibility Careers Hub Coordinator with Swinburne University. I've been in the role since May of this year. So it's been I was just saying to Debbie before, a really interesting experience onboarding and starting a new job through lockdown, and especially being in Melbourne. So my role sits within the career development team within the university, but I guess our program and where GradWise have been really involved is in setting it up so that we specifically provide career development support for students who have got a disability. And I've just got that extra bit of capacity to provide individualised support, speak to students maybe more regularly, so have more frequent touch points. And at times it's nearly a bit more like a case management role than maybe just a one-off career development practitioner consultation. So I guess there's been, in the relatively short time I've been in the role as well, but a couple of examples where we've been able to collaborate really well with Ed and the whole GradWise team, and how I've been able to then get the feedback from students on the collaboration. So this year in particular, obviously with everything being online, we held an event earlier a few months ago, an online careers event for students with disabilities. So we have, in a similar way that we're meeting today, lots of Zoom events with employers talking about opportunities, disability confident recruiters. And I had members of the GradWise team coming to talk to our students about what they do, their offerings, which you'll hear more about today. And from some students attending that, we had people who were obviously very keen to engage. And so there's been a couple of instances where I've worked with a student maybe around what their actual goals are when it comes to what they look like in the world of work, and in the practicalities of seeking a position or a particular placement. I've been able to refer them to GradWise, where they can also get that case management, regular check-ins, and utilise all of the industry contacts that GradWise have for the benefit of moving the student into a placement or into a graduate opportunity. It's really pertinent that it's come up this week as well, in that I had a few weeks ago, I think it was actually back in October, Ed and I facilitated a lunchtime just drop-in session where Ed talked a bit about GradWise, what they do from the students' perspective. And I think the students that turned up, all bar one, were either already engaged with GradWise or chose to engage afterwards. So one of them was a young male student who I had a bit of a chat to him afterwards. He got referred to GradWise, and through that was able to actually participate in a day of shadowing someone in the industry that he was really interested in. He'd been studying, he's nearly finished his studies, and I hadn't heard anything back for a month or so. He's come back and he's been offered through that one day of shadowing. Someone's really seen that potential in this student and has come back and said, if you want to do a placement, I will take personal responsibility for being your supervisor. We want people like you on board. So that's come up through the opportunity of this student being referred to GradWise, taking up that opportunity, and he's now actually engaged with our placements team at Swinburne to make sure that this opportunity that's just come through from him coming to the session, engaging with us, engaging with GradWise, and just being himself, having an employer see that opportunity and really take hold of that. So it's been wonderful, and obviously the whole GradWise team have been completely supportive and really helpful for all of our students. So I'll hand back to you, Ed.
Thank you for the kind words, Rebecca. The check is in the mail. So the slide that I have up there is pretty much, this is where I think According to the graduate outcome rate for 2018, undergraduates with a reported disability had a full-time employment rate of 62.8%, which is, I think, 11% percentage points lower than the 73% of who have reported no disability. Currently, at Swinburne, we're tracking at 72% of the students who have graduated into employment, with just 1% shy of achieving parity. Another university that we're also working with is Monash University, and over there we're tracking at 70%. I must admit that it's not all GradWise work. This is a collaboration between university practitioners, a la Rebecca. It's also in collaboration with the accessibility teams who ensure that the students have all the tools and reasonable adjustments that they require in order for them to complete their degree. It's also a collaboration between us and all the industry partners that we work with who are disability confident employers. So it takes a team for us to be able to achieve the solid results that we're achieving to date. Now, as mentioned, the three phases that we have to, we think the student has to go through is connect, transform, and act. With regards to connect, in order to thrive, we need to feel connected. In order to feel connected, we need to find commonalities. This begins with understanding self. Who are we? What is our worldview? And how do we see ourselves fitting into it? Looking at the interpersonal, change in goal-directedness is critical. We believe that a healthy mood state or a positive mindset is a springboard for optimal goal-directedness. For us, the questions are: how can we increase the belief of our students and graduates? How can we improve on their motivation? And how can we build on their confidence? Because we know that belief, motivation, confidence is the upward spiral along which goal-directedness is optimized. Having a sense of belonging in life, in the personal life, this refers to the belonging to the group, the family, or friend, or culture. If we look at the work life, having a sense of belonging there refers to the team, the department, or vision of the organization, and most importantly, the individual feeling represented. The question that we work through with our students in this space is, how can they ensure that they're making meaningful contribution to the organization? How can they establish commonalities when they go within these teams? And how can they communicate the commonalities that everyone share? The constructs of social safety obviously enables us to, and our students to combat those negative recurring thoughts by replacing them with positive ones. We've seen the students who are able to achieve this have the ability to achieve difficult and challenging tasks. So over the next couple of slides, I'm going to share with you a couple of the tools because of time restrictions that we use to help our cohort manage and to improve on their social safety. The first slide is going to be around the first 6 months, how that looks for the student when they join GradWise. And then the second tool that I'm going to share with you is going to be a Neurozen tool. This is about optimizing their brain and body system. And this tool is, we are coaching them from a neuroscience point of view. So this is how the first 6 months of the student's journey looks like. So in the first instance, there's an initial appointment. This is where the student meets their career coach, and this is where the career mapping starts. And part of that career mapping is looking into an employability audit. So the way we work out an employability audit, we try to identify the industry or organization of choice for the student. And then we actually even drill down to the exact role the student has a desire to work with. Once we have this intel, we reverse engineer and look at where the gaps may be for the student. And then along the journey with us within GradWise, we try to ensure that we're addressing those gaps or those skills shortages. And we address those through inviting the students into something we're calling GradWise Masterclass. This is where we invite industry to come and share with the students about their culture, about the application process, about the supports that are going to be also available once they commence employment. And this gives our students a lot of comfort to know that the industry are out there willing to work with them. And it's not a tokenistic gesture for the student. It's based on their merit. We also have a GradWise Live. So GradWise Live, this is where we've created a safe space or a community to build on our social safety that we mentioned. This is where the students share the collective experiences and feel supported. We also have a peer support group that we've developed because we've been doing this for, I think, 2.5 years now. We have a lot of graduates who worked for between more than 6 to 12 months. So we match or we pair the students who are going through the current continuum with those graduates, and they can, as a peer support. And Neuzone, I'm going to delve a little bit more into this in the next slide, but this is about optimizing brain and body systems. We definitely work on mentorships and internships, like everybody here as well. We work closely with A&D. We also work with our own industry partners to ensure these early identification opportunities are available for our students. Job shadow days are very important. We recently had one with this Department of Justice and Community Safety. We had 18 of our students go through that. And as Rebecca mentioned earlier on, there's a gentleman who went through that. They absolutely loved him. He's seen Department of Justice from a different light, and he's absolutely convinced that that's the only organization that he's worked with. But what this has done as well, it's created an opportunity for the students and the people who from the department to create some sort of network. And from that, an employment opportunity has come through. Graduate applications is very, very important for us. We work with the students around that. And this, we work with them pretty much from the inception, through the GradWise master classes, we run through topics such as, resumes, cover letters, interview techniques. We also invite industry to run through psychometric testing simulations, because we believe practice makes permanent. We hope that most of, not all, our students will gain employment. And once they get employment, we support them for another year, 52 weeks. We call this the ongoing support phase. And during this phase, there's a negotiations that happens between a GradWise coach, the student, and the hiring manager from a particular organization. And this is around ensuring that once the student walks in, it's going to be the right support structure that is in place. We will help the student disclose whatever disability they may be managing. And we try to give student comfort that this disclosure is all about ensuring that should there be any flare-ups, the hiring manager or the diversity inclusion manager knows how to support the student through that phase. Now, with regards to Neuzone, in order to unlock high performance and thrive, we believe a graduate's self-leadership, learning capacity, innovation capacity, resilience has to be at a very high level. As we move into new organization and industry, the ability to absorb and apply the new learnings or information is really important. We've had a lot of disruptions recently, be it tech disruption or COVID, and an ability to pivot and find an innovative solution is key to the student success. The transition from academia to the world of work may have its challenges or setbacks, but how we bounce back or forward from these challenges will be the determining factor on the student's success. So as I'd mentioned, Neuzone is a tool that enables us to build on self-leadership, the learning capacity, the innovation capacity, and the resilience through working through this, by working through these 10 drivers on your screen now. So these 10 drivers are divided into 3 groups. The green is your foundational driver. So we'll work with the students around exercising if they can. We'll work with them around the nutrition, sleep-wake cycle, silence in the mind. More often than not, the results from the sleep-wake cycle are very low. And we try to educate the students on the importance of having the right amount of sleep. It's not just about the fatigue factor, but this is where majority of the memory is made, and this is also where the decision, not so the decision making takes place. When we look at the second groupings of drivers in blue, those are your social drivers. Now, social safety is important, goal-directedness, and collective creativity. What we are seeing, unfortunately, in our cohort is a lot of negative thought patterns. There's a lack of belonging as well. So how can we coach them? And we coach them to try and ensure that they're reducing those negative thought patterns. For example, if you walk into a new work environment and you may be suffering from anxiety, the perception of threat could be a bit daunting. But how do they manage this? How can they ensure that this doesn't impact or impede the ability to thrive? Collective creativity, as I mentioned, how can we ensure that they have a sense of belonging? One of the most interesting things that we've seen, and industry is shared with us, that every time a student who has a disability joins a team, the managers of those organizations have seen increased performance. I'm not saying that the performance is day and night, but they've seen increased performance. This is because immediately somebody from a core joins that team, there's a sense of empathy that comes along with that. And once there's a sense of empathy, there's a sense of belonging within that team. And then obviously that translates to higher performance because they have shared the same vision. The third groupings of the drivers, these are your higher order drivers. So the learning capacity, abstraction around decision-making processes, and also the executive functions. So this could entail things such as brain games, just to ensure that they have sustained focus. Because of time, I can only present a summary of Neurozone, but more than willing, if anybody wants to unpack it more, to I guess connect and discuss. The second phase that I'd mentioned is the transformation phase. And for us, transformation is a flow state, it's fluid. But one thing that we also realize that it's not linear. It requires attention and care, with all change would. As we grow, we become stronger, and the transformation becomes permanent. If you look at the early identification, this is where we, as I mentioned earlier on, we're exposing them to internships, exposing them to mentorships, we're exposing them to job shadow days. If you look at the confidence part of the transformation, they're gaining this confidence by attending all these master classes that I mentioned before, learning from other students or industry partners as well. The experience comes around through all the advocacy that my team and I engage with the employers and opportunities that we create for them. Reflection is very important. In fact, today we had a function for the International Day of People Living with a Disability. And the topic that was being covered was reflection and reframing. And one of the students shared the most powerful story I've had in a long time. Unfortunately for him, he lost his brother who got lost and was found after he passed away after a few days. And for him, upon reflection and reframing, he saw some, I guess, silver lining in this whole situation. And the silver lining was the support that he received from the community, the support he received from SCS, the support that he received from the people who used to work with his brother when we were all going out searching for him for days. So that was, for me, was a very, very powerful moment. I could not imagine what this family went through, but for him to be able to reflect and find this silver lining was extremely powerful. In terms of learning, for us, it's about ensuring that they're looking at any setbacks from a different lens. This is where they can create their resiliency. If they get rejected, what kind of learning can they get from that? Trusting connections, it's really important. We try to ensure that our students, take in the advice that or the guidance that's being offered, be it from GradWise, be it from the university sector as well. and trusting the process, that it's been tried and it's true and it does work. Celebrating success, we do this a lot. And we do this by inviting, there's different ways, but one of the ways we do this is by inviting them back to GradWise life. And the success is not just about employment, it's success about somebody going for an interview for the first time. We just had one, she's a mature lady, mature student in her 50s, has never ever been to a face-to-face interview. And that was the story that she shared. And that was really powerful. And everybody, the coaches, the students are celebrating with them. So I think that really cements cements the transformation phase for us.
Edward, thank you for that. That was, we could hear you talk forever about student stories. They're so powerful and they really resonate with all of us when we're working in the tertiary sector. I'm not quite sure whether some questions have come through, but are yourself and Rebecca happy to hang around to answer any of the questions that do come up in the chat box?
100%, yeah,
Yeah, of
definitely.
course.
Yep.
I'm just one slide away from finishing, and then we'll
I
take
know.
some questions.
Yeah, we just need to move on with time.
Oh, it's
That
too
was
late.
all.
Okay.
Yes,
All right,
it
okay.
goes so fast, Edward. I know. I want to. I'm not quite sure whether we're keeping all of the presentations, but we
Okay.
might put your contact details in the chat box as well, Edward. Or if you're able to do that, that would be fantastic. I'm pretty sure there's a fair few people that would really like to to engage and connect, because what you have created is really a comprehensive model, and I can see why 11 universities have jumped on board,
Right.
because the success and the outcomes that you're getting is just phenomenal. So well
Right.
done. But if we could get Edward's contact details in the chat box, that would be brilliant.
Okay, great.
And
Put them in.
thank you, Edward, and thank you, Rebecca, for your time. I really appreciate it.